Hello, Internet, and welcome to my review for Angels of Death Episode 6. As you can tell, it is close to midnight around here, so my volume will be a little down, so you turn your volume a little up, because of course at this point I just cannot make a video when it's not around midnight. Anyway, when we last left our heroes, Zach was trying to kill Rachel under the influence of the murder drug that Cathy forced him to take. And Cathy, and no, not Cathy, and Rachel told him to not spare her for her own sake, but for the fact that he wants to get out of there, which seemed to work. And that was really where we left off last week, with her still being held by his scythe. And we do find out through this episode that it does not work as well as last episode kind of implied. Before that, we get a little bit more of Zach's backstory as we actually watch him kill his abusive caretakers. And what I thought was particularly interesting, so we did see last week that the man was watching a slasher film, and then they go to bed and they leave the TV on, and Zach watches the slasher film, and that's where he gets the idea to kill people. And so I'm no expert on the slasher film, but I'm well aware of the trope of the couple making out in the woods are the first to get killed and all that. And that kind of thing of this person's happiness of making out is what leads him to kill them. They're happy and then they die. It kind of leads to Zach's whole "I want to kill people who are happy," which is just a fun little thing. I don't know if that's really where he gets that part of himself from, or if just a random connection I pull out of nowhere. But either way, that's just a fun little tidbit. But after that, it turns out that Zach kind of lowers the scythe for a little bit, giving enough time for Rachel to get away, but doesn't really mean that he is free of the drug's effect, because he still goes chasing her through the corridor. And Rachel has some inner monologuing. So I questioned last week whether or not Rachel trying to get Zach not to kill her was for, or whose sake it was for, whether it was, because she was suddenly starting to realize, or just barely starting to realize, that she didn't really want to die, or if it was just because she wanted to help Zach. And here she seems to lean pretty hard on the just wanting to help Zach. I am open to the idea that she's still kind of repressing her own desire for survival, just because, she's based so much of herself at this point on, I want to die, I want Zach to kill me, that now she's denying the fact that that's not really who she is at the moment. That's just I'm not saying I think that's what it is. I'm just kind of open to that still being the case. And then, so then they get to the room, the Cathy describes as the firing squad room. And Zach is still chasing Rachel, and Zach gets ready to slash down Rachel for the finishing blow, right when Cathy shoots him in the shoulder with, the room has these machine gun turrets around the room, and one of the machine guns hits Zach in the shoulder, and it's kind of weird, because Cathy's whole goal in this room is to have Zach kill Rachel, right, and then she's gonna kill Zach, right, or have one of them kill the other, and then she'll punish the survivor with a new, more intense form of punishment. That's her whole goal in this room. So why did she stop it from happening? Because if she had not shot Zach in the shoulder, Rachel would have died. There was nothing really stopping him. The stairs leading upwards were behind the what's it called, plexiglass sheet, the window that she couldn't break through, and that even the scythe couldn't break through. Because when I first thought that, I thought that was what was going to happen. He was going to, she would be, backed up behind or right in front of, the window to the stairs thing, and Zach would, slash at her, and she'd get out of the way, and then Zach would break the window. That was my initial thought of the room, but then, Zach tries to break through it later on, and it doesn't work. Zach could have killed Rachel right there, and I don't quite understand why Cathy would stop it, given that she wants Zach to kill Rachel. That's the whole point of why they're in that room. And then there's this whole scene where Zach and Rachel have this really long discussion that's basically, as I recall, not too different from their conversation in the corridor about, Rachel trying to save her life for Zach's sake and not her own. And then Zach imagines, I think it's killing Cathy, he imagines. And killing Cathy makes him realize, or first, Rachel, accepting her death, tries to give a smile to Zach, because, Zach likes some people with a smile on their face. But her eyes are so dead, it doesn't really work. And so it's either the thought of killing Cathy, or the thought of killing Rachel while she's genuinely smiling. I really should have rewatched the scene again before I got to this part in the video. I'm really sorry about that. But something makes Zach remark that he's smiling so widely he could kill himself. And so he stabs himself with the scythe, which is wild, and it's weird. But it's an interesting take on his whole killing people while they're smiling ethos. And while it doesn't really seem to play off too much in the episode proper, given that, later on he walks right back up when he has to kill Cathy at the end, we do see that based on the end of the episode, it does definitely seem to be a recurring handicap that he's, no longer as strong as he was because he just, gutted himself. Or he might die by next episode. I doubt he's going to die because he is the main character, and I don't quite see how Rachel can get through without the bronze of the operation. But yeah, it's just a weird little bit. I'm not entirely happy with it. I think it doesn't really flow. It's just kind of a weird little sequence there. But it is a great fuck you to Cathy, because Cathy wants Zach to kill Rachel, and so Zach trying to kill himself is definitely like a middle finger up to Cathy. And that, it does piss Cathy off, because she, opens the doors and comes down and like, what the fuck, Zach? I thought you were gonna kill her, but no, you just fucking kill yourself? What a fucking loser. And so, earlier on, Cathy had given Rachel a gun to kill Zach with, because, she wanted to, battle to the death, right? And so Rachel tries to Rachel, points the gun at Cathy, and Cathy's like, oh, you couldn't kill Zach, you won't be able to kill me. And Rachel's like, you're right, and, throws the gun away, or, no, the gun gets shot away by the machine gun turrets. And Cathy's like, oh, it didn't really matter, because the gun wasn't loaded in the first place. Which, first of all, is kind of weird to the whole, wanting them to have a genuine fight. But also, I really wish Rachel had tried to shoot Cathy, even if the gun wasn't loaded, just to, show the difference in the fact that, she really does care about Zach at this point, which is definitely a recurring theme throughout this episode. She tries to get Zach to spare her for Zach's sake. She really does care about Zach. As opposed to Cathy, who, fuck Cathy. As we see later on, she doesn't say fuck Cathy and fucking shoots her. More on that in a bit. Because that is not really brought out of her until Cathy realizes that Zach survived his self-inflicted stab wound and starts, torturing the ever-living fuck out of him. And Rachel has some visions. Or some mind, flashbacks in her own mind. One of them is that, or first we see, she sees the image of, Cathy and Zach of, some weird art styles. And then we see her standing in the doorway of, what looks like to be a cabin, I think? And I'm not entirely so it kind of, so the doorway she reminds me of Zach's old house. And so my first thought is that she was somehow inserting herself into Zach's backstory, which was kind of weird. But given the fact the episode ends with us starting to get little tidbits of a genuine Rachel backstory, I think that really is our first shot of her past. Fair warning to game players, I have not played the game, so I don't know. This is all just my speculations, my conjecture. So, I'm really curious, definitely because, we built so much with Zach's backstory, and it's actually really worked pretty well. I am definitely excited to see where Rachel's backstory is, especially because, her backstory is really the driving thrust of the plot. It's how she ended up in this little place. So yeah. And then, of course, as I mentioned, she pulls out a gun that we eventually find out is her own gun. That she had in her bag, wrapped in a handkerchief. And that, of course, leads into the mysteries of who is this person? Who is Rachel? How did Rachel Gardner become the person that she is? And that's definitely I definitely have a lot of faith that this series is absolutely pushing us towards the answer to those mysteries. I don't know when, I don't know how, but now that like these questions have been directly brought up, when she first pulled the gun out, I was like, is that just going to be a random thing? Is it going to be like, last week's little thing that she had to blow open the door that I thought she just had a bomb lying around or whatever it was? Am I just like confused or um. But yeah, I'm glad that it seems like we're going to have answers to the why is she so prepared for this shit? Why does she have a gun? Why did she throw up that bird in episode 1? I've not forgotten the bird. But anyway, she shoots Cathy in the chest and like seemingly, severely injuring her. And then Zach finds the strength to stand up and, slices the shit out of Cathy, fully killing her this time. And that does lead some questions of, how even if Zach survived, stabbing himself, he shouldn't really have the strength to get up and walk around. Maybe I'm expecting too much realisticness from my, game adaptation horror anime, but you know what? It's just a little weird. It's not a deal-breaking thing. It's just a weird little thing to happen, So anyway, they move on from the room after Cathy is finally dead, and they find out they're like right next to the hallway where they started. They literally at the end of the episode head back to the mugshot room, and Zach has this great joke that is maybe one of my favorites in the entire series so far. It's just an example of how much better the humor has gotten. He's ranting about how awful Cathy was, and he's like, every time I think of her face, I just want to kill her. And he pauses. Oh wait, I already did. It's a great little bit. I really want to see. I'm really bad personally at at really knowing how lines are read in like subbed anime. So I'm really excited for when the dub gets to this point. So I see how. I actually don't know who plays him in the dub because I've not been watching the dub. But whoever's playing Zach does that line. This is a really funny line. I hope it's just. I hope it's like a standout performance in the dub. And so they go back to so first on the way back to the mugshot room, they see this writing on the door about how, you have to enter your true name to proceed, and how God does not want the sinner, is the actual line. And Zach just lets Rachel handle it. He acknowledges that Rachel is the brains of the operation, which is nice after last episode. Like, last episode there was this whole conflict about, Rachel's order giving sounding a lot like the woman who raised him. But after what they went through this week, it definitely seems like Zach and Rachel are definitely getting closer as a pair. And I do say that literally every episode, but it really is like one of the best parts of the show is just Zach and Rachel's ever strengthened relationship, especially considering like in universe they've known each other for maybe 2 hours. But like they're already, this really close team. It's really nice to see. Now I have to talk about that last scene before they get in the elevator. I am going to bring that up too, because there's a lot going on there. But when Rachel thinks of the name, so I'm a little bit confused. Is the name that Rachel puts into the little slot to activate the elevator the sinner's name? Or is the name that she keeps the sinner's name? Because I was under the impression that the name she gives to open the elevator is the one who wasn't the sinner. But she puts in Zach's name. So, we know Zach is this huge serial killer. We see in the opening he has wanted posters out. And yet somehow Rachel is more the sinner than he is. And so that definitely adds to the, heightened mystery of who exactly Rachel is and how she ended up here. But I'm definitely really expecting the next floor to get to. But anyway, we then move on to... We have the end credits, and then we have a stinger that is the two of them heading up to B2. And this really is nice to see... As much as it's really, like, upsetting that Zach is, seemingly on the verge of death from his gut wound, I was really worried they were just going to brush it off. He just got better because he's Zach, I guess? But I'm glad they're not doing that. They are actually, he passes out because he's just stabbed himself in the gut. and that's gotta fucking hurt. Before he passes out, we do get the start of Rachel's backstory relating it to Zach, that she witnessed a death, and then she went to counseling for it with Danny. I think Danny claimed it was Danny, but I don't quite remember if it was actually Danny. And Zach was bringing up some good questions, like how she had the gun. Then Zach passes off for bloodloss, which is the end of the episode. So all in all, this was a really, it had its issues. I feel like, why did Cathy shoot Zach when she did? How did Zach survive getting gutted? Though I'm glad they are bringing that up. A couple of things didn't quite make sense. But all in all, it was a really nice capstone to this whole Cathy arc, now that Cathy is dead. Moving on to, I'm imagining the guy with the pure white eyes from the key visual. The guy whose face is big in the back. He's the only guy left on the poster, though I would imagine he would be part of B1. But I guess he's the only one left, so I guess he's in charge of B2, maybe? Or maybe he'll end up being the whole head honcho, I don't know. But it also sets up some more of the mystery surrounding Rachel that I really imagine to become the crux as we move into the second basement. So yeah, all in all, this was a nice episode. It had its issues, but I really liked it. It was just kind of my opinion of the series as a whole so far. Has its issues, but I really like it. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this episode and the video. If you do, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass and I'll see you in the future. Bye.